Welcome. First, I would like to thank the Charlotte Bobcats for allowing us to participate in this case competition. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce our team. Starting from the left, we have Najee Johnson, Jeff Chin, Alex Dia, and myself, Brian Falk. So this video coincides with the PowerPoint presentation we submitted, which lays out our analysis and criteria around how we identified marquee players and how we identified factors we feel are most relevant to free agents during their process of choosing the next team to play for. So the next step is to walk you through a model that our team developed to understand how we can apply our analysis in order to forecast the probability of a team's likelihood to land a free agent in comparison to other teams. So now let's dive into our model, which we have labeled the Team Free Agent Forecast. And let's start by recapping the goal of this model, which is to help generate a list of probabilities that compare a team's likelihood of landing a free agent compared to other teams. Now, the page you see on the screen is a summary page, a roll-up of the different probabilities by team along with a comparison rank. Now, our next step is to go into the details of the model and show you at a high level how we calculate these probabilities, which we will begin to highlight on the next page. Okay, so let's begin discussing the probability and point system, which is the key portion that drives the probability numbers I will show later in the presentation. So how our team created this was first asking ourselves a few different questions. First question, what do we mean by probability? Well, probability in this case is the likelihood that a particular factor will have a positive impact on a free agent coming to a team. Second question, what do we want the maximum probability to be in our system? Well, in this case, it's 0.9, which means that this is the highest positive impact a factor can have on a free agent's choice, while leaving room for a factor possibly not having any impact at all on a free agent's decision. And all this is highlighted under the red section on the screen. Third question is, so now how do we reach this maximum probability? Well, first, we have to assign a relative rank to each of the factors we discussed early in the PowerPoint deck. For example, coaching, franchise pedigree, or money. Those ones that are most important are assigned a 1, and those factors will be able to reach the highest probability of 0.9. We have labeled these assigned rankings as being either in control, meaning a team has direct control over these factors, or out of control, meaning that the team does not have direct control. And then all this is shown under the yellow highlighted section on the screen. Those out of control items can only garner a maximum probability of either 0.5 or 0.2. Overall, this is a crucial step because we are trying to make probabilities directly impacted by the relative importance of the factors we have described. Now, the next big portion to determine the maximum probability we can garner is to take into consideration that each factor has many underlying details that may be weighted differently in terms of importance to a free agent. For example, a player may find that the overall factor of coaching is very important, but whether or not a coach has a prior championship or a positive relationship with players are different aspects the players may weight differently. Now, here's where the points come into play. And this is where we assign high, medium, or low values in the green columns to each one of these particular details. So in terms of coaching, a free agent may rate a coach having a positive reputation with players as being high versus a prior championship as being rated low because it's not a significant priority. So overall, the combination of assigned rankings in the yellow columns and the assigned high, medium, or low in the green columns combine to give us our probability number. So for example, in order to get the highest 0.9 probability for a certain factor such as coaching, you have to rate the factor a 1 and each underlying factor a combination of either high or medium. So now that we have described the detail around our probability and point system, let's do an example where we determine the probability of a few teams landing a upcoming free agent in 2014, Kyle Lowry of the Toronto Raptors. So now we have come to the section of the model where we have the data entry, where a GM or a team such as the Bobcats would select the relevant factors they feel will be important to a player such as Kyle Lowry and how many of the desired factors their team could meet. So let's do a quick overview of the functionality of this page. And I've highlighted in yellow those sections where data entry will be required. So in the All Teams section, this is the section where you would type in the relevant factors we have discussed previously, which are those key characteristics which teams have identified as being the most influential in deciding whether a free agent, in this instance Kyle Lowry, would join the team. Next, you would assign a rating to the factor, as well as select or choose the key underlying factors that would be most important to Kyle Lowry, for example, under coach. So for this example with Kyle Lowry, seeing as though he is still relatively young in his career, we picked coaching, franchise pedigree, and money as the three main factors that would impact his decision. Now we move on to team-specific data. And here's where we would answer questions for each team we feel may be in the running to land Kyle Lowry as a free agent. So just for simplicity purposes, we chose two Eastern Conference teams, Miami and New York, to compare against his existing team, Toronto. So under each team, we already have the pre-populated underlying factors we feel that players such as Kyle Lowry will want out of the team, which we will then compare across each team. Now for each team, we would manually answer two questions. First, does the team have these factors or traits, yes or no? And then second, give an assumption on how relevant these underlying factors are important to Kyle Lowry, and then rank them either high, medium, or low. So for example, for Miami, we know that their current coach, Erik Spoelstra, has a prior championship, good rapport with players, and a winning record. However, the most important of these characteristics might be a positive relationship with players, given that Kyle Lowry could have had a rocky relationship with current coach Dwayne Casey. So we may rank that underlying factor high and the rest medium. So based upon this combination of one assigned ranking for coach and two highs and one mediums for the underlying factor, the highest probability for this entire factor of coaching is 0.7. Now, for simplicity purposes, I've gone ahead and answered the remaining questions related to franchise pedigree and money for Miami, as well as for New York and Toronto. Once we completed these questions, we then multiply the probabilities assigned to each of these factors highlighted in yellow, and then we are on our way to generating the probability to which we can now compare against each team. So now we have come full circle and have gone through all the steps to allow us to generate a probability for each team and how they will compare to other teams in the running for a free agent such as Kyle Lowry. So based upon the factors we discussed, New York would have the highest probability of 72.9% of landing Kyle Lowry in free agency, followed by Miami and then Toronto. So that concludes our presentation related to the model we created to forecast the probability of a free agent joining a specific team. We feel this model is a useful and flexible tool for an organization such as the Bobcats to use because it A, shows probabilities that are impacted and adjusted based on the importance of different factors free agents care about, and B, flexible and easily updated to take into consideration the different case-by-case scenarios that arise with each free agent. So thanks again for your time, and we wish the team success in its upcoming playoffs, draft, and free agency.